let's get ready to head to the arena and check in with our guy live from the arena. One Kyle Neubeck and hanging out with
I
us,
do have Derek here also, who's got a hand
and the
in that.
hand
So
in the back.
he'll check in at some point. He actually said, "Yeah, maybe I should get my laptop on and we'll do a 4-way remote call, and then we'll have a lot of fun with that." But how we doing, fellas?
Not good, man. It looked like they had an opportunity because the Suns did not want to play in this one. I don't know what it was in the first half for the Suns, specifically that first quarter, but it looked like the Sixers did, Kyle, more than enough opportunities to extend that lead and maybe not necessarily knock them out in the first half, but if they got off to a decent enough start coming out of the locker room to knock the Suns out, because the first half was the Sixers until it wasn't, and they allowed just a 4-point lead going into halftime.
Yeah, and to really underline that point, Derek at one point, I want to say in the second quarter, goes, they should be up by 15 right now because Phoenix, to your point, they had one great offensive possession to open the game, and then it was just a stream of garbage for a while after that on both ends. I was joking about Kevin Durant's going to submit his trade request mid-game because he looked like he did not want to be there. And obviously there's all the Beal baggage and whatnot. And I think at a certain point, the Sixers just missed so many shots that they let go of the rope. And at the other end of the floor, they start getting beat up by Bradley Beal. They're giving up open threes. One big concern I have, maybe not, let's call it medium concern. The last week or two, I know their transition defense has been a sore spot all year, but they've been giving up some of these like after make runouts where teams are just playing quickly after the Sixers make a shot. And then the opponent just waltzes right down the middle of the floor for open layup. And it's like, are you guys paying attention to what's going on here? They're scoring in a spot where that's supposed to be when your defense is at its best, right? You score a basket, you get down the floor, and you get set up. And these guys are scoring and allowing Phoenix to just like have a freebie at the other end. So just a lot of bad process stuff. And certainly on the offensive side, Nick Nurse said he was satisfied with, say, most of their shots, right? That some of it is just, and I don't think I agree with that, right? Like, I think on some of the shots, it was good process. They continue to run that one play that's a flare screen that they normally run it for PG. They ran it for Maxey on an open three. He got, I believe he missed it, but it's still it's a good set that they're running, that they're consistently getting good offense out of. But a lot of that game, I'm just sitting there like, what are these guys running? Because it's nothing. It's a lot of just throw the ball to Paul George and he's going to take a, fadeaway long two or a pull up three. And it's just, the offensive process is just, for me, so bad. And that's an indictment, not just on the players, but on the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten into to Nick Nurse's role in it tonight, but I agree with you, Kyle. I listened, I think it was a few shows ago where you said, yeah, maybe like these guys actually need him to call a play for them every time down the court. Maybe some of the shortcomings we're talking about with the Stars should dictate to Nick Nurse that, hey, I need to grab more control of the offense. Hey, look, I agree. And if they run that set, that flare screen, and they play the two-man game with the ALLCITY, that's one of the best things they do. Unfortunately, they just probably don't do enough of it. So whether it's you or Derek, I think we knew Paul George was not going to get to the rim all that much this year, but it just feels like, regardless of the opponent, like the shot quality is not really there for him at this point. And even when he does get the good looks, the ones where he's coming off a screen and he's open for three, he's just not making those ones either.
Yeah. No, I certainly feel like I was talking all summer about, that is the one area where you see that he's 34 and that the first step isn't there. He doesn't get all the way to the rim like he used to a couple of years ago. His free throw rate's been going down, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like even with all those qualifications, even with me sort of like setting expectations, I'm still disappointed in that aspect of his game. And in a game like this where you don't have Joel, and it's 3 for 9 from three. So he shot okay from three. But when the jumper is just not falling, all of a sudden that deficiency becomes glaring and glaring and glaring. And they're giving him, the ball in the mid post. They're giving him the ball in an occasional pick and roll, letting him try to create off the dribble, and it's just leading to a lot of tough shots. And it's very frustrating to watch. It is a very stagnant offense. And I'm just not sure he's at the point where you're going to just give him the ball and let him create for himself and have him work his way out of the slump. I think at this point, he is quite comfortably a third option just because he cannot create that shot all that consistently. It has been, I think when the season started and he had those bone bruises, you hope maybe, all right, gets back from the injury, gets the brace off, gets a little bit rejuvenated, but we just haven't really seen that rejuvenation. And yeah, his offensive process has been a struggle. I do eventually think he's going to shoot again, but if he can't create a little more off the dribble, then he's going to be entirely dependent on that shot going down. And he's going to be a very, very streaky offensive player.
Yep. And looking at this one, one of the things that we were talking about, Kyle, before you jumped on was the player of the game, Kelly Oubre, and how well he played in his missing the 3 games comeback. You could see it. He was aggressive early, not just scoring, but rebounding the ball and making sure that there were no second chance opportunities for Phoenix. He was really good tonight, just in his approach, everything that he was doing, helping out in every which way he could defensively as well. And even as Rich had pointed out right before you came on, just trying to get those guys going, not just the crowd, but his teammates, just trying to get them going in that third quarter where the Phoenix Suns pulled away. How did you evaluate what he was able to do tonight?
Well, to add on quickly to Derek's point there, I think one of the things that Oubre made most noticeable in that game is that there is such a big gap between him being able to attack somebody off the dribble and Paul George, right? Because there were times when they got similar matchups, right? Phoenix put plenty of small guards and guys who are huntable out there tonight. And when Oubre got some of those matchups, I mean, he's dusting these guys, right? And we know at this point, and Kelly's still in his physical prime, he's got a better first step, yada, yada, yada. But like, he also is a streaky shooter, right? And so you should be able to play off him and do some things to neutralize him, where Paul George should be able to draw guys far enough out to take away the importance of the first step, but he has not been able to do that. So look, credit to Kelly tonight for coming out, comes off a layoff, hand's been bothering him, and just getting right after it right away, right? And I agree with you, Devon. He was in that third quarter, he was really the only guy that I looked at and was like, he's trying to grab onto this game and make sure it doesn't get away from them. I never support the tunnel vision. Even when he missed a wide open Justin Edwards in the corner on that transition play, I was like, you know what? He's rolling right now. I'll let him cook. And like right after he gets fouled, he got basically a standing ovation at the home arena because the whole place here picked up on the fact that, like, look, this guy, whatever you'd say about his deficiencies, he's playing really hard right now. And he was their most successful attacker for that entire quarter. So also love the rebounding effort, right? That's something we've been highlighting more and more the deeper we get in the season. And I think it was Nick Nurse tonight, or somebody compared him to similar to Yabusele, where Kelly is just trying to do whatever he can to fill different gaps, right? So sometimes it's the rebounding. He might take 5 shots on a given night. Tonight he takes well more than that, right? But he has not been a guy complaining about his touches or how he's being used or whatever. He's just, this is the challenge tonight. This is what I'm going to do to try to help us win. And so I give him credit for his performance. One of the very few that I felt good about coming out of that game.
All right, last one for me. It felt like to me that this was a game where when you have Yabusele, that's great on offense. You can run that play Kyle's talking about, that flare screen, little 2-man, have some good spacing against Mason Plumlee and Nurkic. But the Sixers got smoked defensively in the second half, and it felt like they really struggled, first off, to contain the ball, which is not Yabu's fault. But also when the Suns got into the paint, there wasn't much rim protection to be had there. Derek, did Nurse kind of talk about what went wrong in the second half, or just what did you observe from the Sixers defensively in that second half?
Yeah, in terms of the Nurse aspect, he mostly blamed it on their offensive execution and the Suns being able to get out in transition. I certainly think that was a factor, even if it's not a transition point, a transition possession. You're playing against a defense that isn't fully set, isn't really matched up. I think they did, especially Beal, got some shots in that regard. But I agree with you. Like Yabusele, who I think is generally pretty positionally sound, he was late on a couple of rotations there. And not that he's all that much of a rim protector anyway, but at the very least, when you are in position, you can dissuade a shot a little bit, make it difficult. It just felt like he was a step slow at various aspects. Then again, if you're relying on Yabusele to be sort of like that last line of defense, you're kind of in a bad spot anyway. That's not really his strength. I don't think anyone was particularly all that great defensively, especially after the break. First quarter, I thought they were okay. I thought some of that was also just Phoenix missing shots, but I thought for the most part the effort was there in the first half. And then I think when you start missing shots like the way they did, and at one point in the first half they were shooting better from 3-point range than they were at the rim, and then they started missing some contested jumpers. And I think when you struggle that much, first of all, your focus wanes a little bit, and also you just get out in early. The other team gets out in early offense, and it gets harder to defend. So I think it's sort of like all of that.
We all silly like the mayor.